All right. So welcome again for any of those who are not here. Make sure, again, I'm pretty sure I texted all of you, but make sure you have my phone number in your phones, please. And if I did text you, save my name and number so you have it. So any questions, again, from like now until we get to March, just funnel every question you ever need over to me. I promise I'll get you in the right spot. I respond pretty quickly. Again, if it's for right now, if it's arbiter, if it's registration, if it's uniforms, anything, I'll filter all of those. We again are going to have about 140 plus members in the organization this spring, which we're super excited about. And so essentially, there's a lot of us on the executive board. And what happens is we send one email, and then the chain goes out, and then 12 people get copied, and it goes back and forth. So for your own sake, if you have any questions at all, let me know. And I'm super happy to make sure we get you the answer or I funnel you to the correct person. So make sure you go in and save that number on that. We're going to start out, and this is going to take the bulk of the time, is essentially go around the horn here. And for each of you, for the newbies, to introduce yourselves, and then Dick, myself, and John will introduce ourselves after. So if anybody wants to volunteer, go ahead. If not, I'll just start reading off of a list. But who wants to
I'll go
start for
first.
me?
I'll go first. My name is Jawan Williams, current city, Windsor, Connecticut. Um, Zero lax experience. Obviously I've seen it played, but never have refereed it, or I haven't played myself. Refereeing experience. I'm currently a Division One basketball official and officiating goals. Just continue to get better at any sport I want to referee. Fun fact: I refereed the Division Three national championship
Amazing. What sport was that?
basketball.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. Fantastic. All right, who is next? Go
Hi,
ahead
I'm
and go.
Holden Praisman. I'm from Brookfield, Connecticut. I've played lax my whole life. I've never actually refed any official sports before. And the fun fact about me is I do three sports all around the year.
And what do you do?
I do lacrosse, skiing, and golf.
Awesome. Super awesome.
Okay.
All right, next up, please.
This is Tony, real Anthony, but I go by Tony. Um, Currently living in Bristol from Bloomfield, but been living in Bristol recently. No experience with lax. I've seen it on TV a little bit. I have Paul Marioni, a couple of guys I know that are basketball officials that have been telling me about getting involved for the past couple of years. So I said, let me give it a shot. Reffing experience. I'm a basketball official, high school, and I do volleyball official as well. The goal is to learn the sport so I could become competent in officiating. And fun fact is, I'm 55. I play basketball 3 days a week. Um, yeah, and I played with and against, and this is Allen Iverson. Yeah.
That's impressive. I don't know if any of the youngins know who that is, but we will.
Mhm.
Us oldies will certainly take that. Excellent.
I'll
Welcome
go. I'll go
aboard.
next.
I loved your goal. Your goal is absolutely perfect to just be competent.
Yeah,
Absolutely perfect.
I'll go next. Robert Colley here. Same with Tony. I know Tony. Zero lacrosse experience. My daughter played like 1 year, and then for me, it was like a deer in the headlights. Didn't know what was going on. Again, just looking to gain experience and be competent when I'm out on the field, not look like a complete idiot with making calls. I am certified in basketball and baseball officiating through IBO. So just looking to add some more knowledge, learn a new sport. So I'm pretty green. So any information that will be thrown at me, I'll be happy to absorb it.
And Rob, where are you from again?
I currently live in Windsor, Connecticut.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Welcome aboard.
I'll go next. My name is James Caparosa. I'm from Brookfield, Connecticut, and my lax experience is pretty much my entire childhood and refing experience. I ref hockey I've been reffing for about like 2 or 3 years, and I love like seeing it in a different perspective. And my officiating goal is probably to ref at a college level, whether that's lacrosse or hockey. And a fun fact is I've been skating since I was 2 years old.
Awesome. And God bless you for officiating hockey, by far the toughest sport in terms of
Yeah.
appearance. I think easily takes the cake of whatever your worst story is, multiplied by about 50.
Yeah,
for hockey.
the parents are the worst. The parents are the worst for sure.
Well, welcome aboard. Lax parents can be bad, but not as bad as hockey, in my personal opinion. Awesome. Who's next, please?
I'll go next. It's Mike Mariska. I'm in Darien, Connecticut. I have a fair amount of lax experience through my kids. I've got 3 kids who play. I ref baseball a while ago, but it's always something I've been wanting to get back into, and it's afforded, now I think is a good time to both. I'm going to try to maybe do this and football coming up in the fall. Fun fact is that my son just committed to Loyola to play lacrosse. So
Awesome. Congratulations.
yeah, so he's he's pretty excited about it.
Super, super awesome. Excellent. Welcome. And who would like to go next?
I'll go next. My name is Daniel Lanier. Current city is Enfield, Connecticut. Lax experience, just from watching it and having friends who played. So I didn't play myself. Reffing experience, I'm a first-year basketball official this year. Officiating goal, I'm just trying to learn more about this sport. And a fun fact about me, I'm a recent graduate from the University of New Haven.
Excellent. I heard that's a terrible university to say no.
Yeah, no, I won't even lie.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't know how our paths haven't crossed. So I teach there and then work there. So
Oh, nice.
We'll
nice.
talk off camera. But yeah,
Yeah, most definitely.
20 years. So fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Awesome. Who would like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. My name's Tom Gallagher. I live in East Windsor, Connecticut. My lacrosse experience, I've been involved with lacrosse for the last 20 years. I played all through youth, high school, played in college at Eastern Connecticut. Reffing experience, I reffed in high school. When I was in high school, I did some youth games. My officiating goal, I would say, is provide, a safe, fair game for all the kids involved. Make sure the kids are staying safe and having a good time. Fun fact, I currently still coach for Connecticut Valley Club, doing summer ball, fall ball. So very involved with lacrosse, and just looking to get into reffing as well.
Welcome to the light side, as we say.
Thank you.
Of course. Excellent. Who's next?
I can go
I
next.
can go next. You go ahead.
All right, thank you. My name is Colin Gervelding. I am from Cheshire, Connecticut. I'm currently a student at UConn. My fun fact is that I'm part of the UConn Club Lacrosse team here. I'm a vice president. My reffing experience is that I reffed youth last year. A lot of just local games, and then I did one summer tournament, which was a good experience. So I'm looking just to get some higher level games as well, some older youth games, just more experience mainly because I only have a year under my belt, which I'd like to. I played lacrosse in second grade, and it's been part of my life for a long time now. My dad is a coach as well, so definitely enjoyed the game.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
My turn.
Yep, you're good, Brian. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, my name's Brian. Currently in Rocky Hill. I'll get my camera on for y'all in a little bit, but I'm in the car right now. Zero lax experience, except for like a lot of other people, just watching it on TV here and there. Currently in my 3rd year though as a basketball official. Actually, just did a game with Juwan, who's also in the call. My officiating goal, I think, just to learn about a new sport, grow myself and the game within all the proper parameters. And a fun fact on me is I'm on TV, so some of you guys may have seen me on the news every once in a while.
Hopefully for good reasons, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm on Channel 3, so yeah, all good things for me.
Excellent. Welcome. What we got next?
I could go. My name's Jenya Medvedev. I'm currently in Ellington, Connecticut. I have zero lack experience. I was actually prompted to join this by Austin Nolan. He was very adamant about me getting in touch.
We're going to start
And
giving them a finder's fee. It's about 90% of you on here. It's an Austin guy, so that's great.
yep. So yeah, I'm a second year basketball official. Do a lot of games, try to stay busy. My officiating goal was just to be confident, similar to how basketball, even though it's a new sport, and I just want to make the most out of it. Stay busy, meet new people, make those connections, and kind of see how far it can take me. Fun fact is, I am currently at work.
Perfect. We won't tell the boss. Don't you worry.
Thank you.
I'll
Awesome.
jump
Who's
in.
next here? Yeah.
I just ran to the car. Sorry I don't have my stuff. I had other plans for tonight, but I jumped on anyways. My name's Andrew Vitale. I'm currently in Plantsville, Connecticut. This is my second year on the board. I asked Rob if I could join the first league again because, like many of you, I had zero Blacks experience. And although I had plenty of games last year, I still don't know everything. So I want to still learn the basics as best as I can. I am a 13-year football official. My officiating goal is just to, get the basics down as best as I can. There's a lot of pressure out there, even though you're working lower games. So the more you know, the better you'll be dealing with the coaches and all the situations that come up. Fun fact, I am an internet now sensation thanks to a stupid trick play in the high school football state finals. Not in a good way, but many millions of views on this thing.
Absolutely amazing.
All right, I'm going to be listening the rest of the night, but thank you guys for having me back.
Yeah, of course. And I think, Daishawn, you're the last one. Maybe if I can find them.
I haven't gone yet either. If I
Oh,
can.
go ahead. Sorry, Harrison.
Yeah,
And you
no
just
problem.
text me. Thank you for doing that. Perfect.
Yeah, no worries. Hey guys, Harrison Bowen. I'm from Trumbull, Connecticut. I have a lot of lack experience. I've been playing for a long time too. I played at 4 years at St. John's University, and then I took a fifth year at WestCon for a year. So I've been playing for a while. And then reffing experience. I don't have any direct reffing experience. Been around the game a lot, but that's it. And then my officiating goal, similar to what you guys were saying, just keeping a fair, safe game for all the kids involved. And then fun fact about me, this spring I'll also be coaching. I just hopped on a coaching staff with a buddy of mine with a fourth grade team here in Trumbull. So excited to, kind of reapproach the game from two different angles this spring.
Super awesome. Excellent. And I think Kev, you still got to go?
Yeah. Sorry. My name's
No,
Kevin
you're good.
Mitchell. I'm originally from Sacramento, California, but I live in Manchester now. I've been playing lacrosse my whole life on the East Coast and the West Coast. I have no reffing experience so far. I've been snubbed by a couple bad refs, but we all have. Fun fact is big fly fisherman, and I also graduated from UConn last year and played on that club team. Didn't play with Colin though.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I think I just missed you by a year.
He was supposed to tell a bad joke. He's still a freshman. He'll learn.
Yeah, if you talk about the guys in the BC game a couple of years ago, they'll know.
Oh, I've heard that story.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Awesome. I see. And then Daishawn, and then Jim, I think you just hopped on too.
I did.
Hey, Jim, what's going on?
How are you?
Good.
You want me to-
We're just
Good.
we're just doing introductions. Feel free.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Jim O'Connor. I've been a coach and for about 30 years. I was the head coach at Amity High School for a long time. I started the program. I'm right now an assistant coach for the girls lacrosse at Brantford High School. And I was a renegade referee for a little while, about 20 years ago. But now I want to do it officially. I'm an empty nester, so that's why I want to get involved. And I know a lot of your members, and they helped to convince me to get involved.
Excellent.
That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Excellent. And so I keep yelling at Daishan. He can't unmute. He's probably also at work or dance recital. Everything else. So
I was at a chorus concert. Yeah, sorry about that.
Nope, you're good. You're good. And that's the big thing again, everybody on this call, you're going to learn too of we us three as trainers, we're based in reality, and not saying that other people aren't, but we're here to also meet you where you are, right? Is that we're all busy. We have a ton of things. So our goal, same thing of, we want to start right at 7. We want to end by 8:30, not hold you over. But John and I and Dick will always stay on when you do have questions, as long as you need. So I think we got everybody here, right, for the most part. Cool. All right, awesome. So, Mr. Naramore, you get to go next.
I can go. Yeah. Dick Naramore. I'm from Cheshire. I've been on the CLOA board for, I think this is my 20 or 21st year. And let's see. Coaching experience. I've coached youth here in town. I actually played the game. I can't count how far back that was, but it was the mid 60s. I only played in prep school, and I got back into it when my boys started to play here in town. Coaching, then I, yelled at a few refs, and someone said, "You ought to see what it's like out there." Started reffing and loved it ever since. And fun fact, I also do game clocks and shot clocks, etc., for college hockey and college lacrosse, as well as Rob does. That's pretty much it.
And so sometimes we have other e-board members who will jump in. We'll have them introduce themselves when they do come. But Vernon, you're up next.
I'm John Vernon. I live in Woodbury, Connecticut. I started officiating a long time ago. I did not have any experience with the game. This year will be my 34th year on the Connecticut Lacrosse Officials Association. Fun fact, I'm also an amateur radio operator, a ham radio operator. Did I cover all the bases, Rob? Oh, and my big responsibility here is to keep Rob in line.
That's full-time job.
That's almost full-time, yeah. That's right.
That is full time. And Vernon's not only claim to fame, but his biggest asset to us is he knows everything inside and out, rule wise. Also spends a tremendous amount of time, all of the different documents we're going to give you, and all of the different comparison sheets and quizzes and stuff like that. Vernon is the author of all these, and I take zero credit for doing anything outside of proofreading and being available to chat them. But we truly have a tremendous resources. We're up to 6 or 7 states use all of our stuff at this point. Again, U.S. Lacrosse gives us some oversight, but the states have to do a lot of the legwork for the materials and stuff like that. So a lot of the things you're going to see are also shared around the country, which is really cool. And again, we're going to give you additional websites. So don't feel like it's abnormal if we send you to the Texas Lacrosse Officials Association or Oregon or Georgia or things like that. All of us work even Western Mass, and we have a couple different transfers coming from Western Mass who are not on tonight because they have their first meeting. But you're going to purposely see, just like all of us who played any sport, is that it's about team and not having to reinvent the wheel. So if we send you to other websites, it's because they do a really good job at it or things like that. So again, it's about collaboration. And again, the goal when we're officials is that all of our mechanics are the same regardless of where we officiate in the country, right? And so you should be able to step on to a court or a field or a rink and be able to just officiate and trust in that partner that they are going to do the exact same thing. We're going to talk about when that doesn't occur, right? We'll get to that because it does once in a while. But the goal is to make sure mechanically we're really sound because that's kind of the more important side. The rules are still important, but the mechanics are, as all of you said, from playing and, getting into it or official or things happen. It's the mechanics are the number one thing. And everybody who's here in basketball, or again, if it's hockey or volleyball it's being there, right? Is that if there is a goal call and you are nowhere near the hoop or you're nowhere near the rink and the goalie is maybe trying to cover it and you're not there and you're 20 yards downfield, and now that everything, including high school, is filmed, it looks really bad, right? As versus being able, and again, if you're a Bills fan or a Chiefs fan or whatever, right? That is a really tough call to figure out if Josh Allen got the ball over that line, right? But it looks very different when you see both of those officials sprinting in to make that call, right? And then it gives it a little bit of grace of it's a human error, right? And some subjectivity to it. So, to then transition into mine. So again, I'm Rob Holub. I'm your head trainer. This is, man, I'm getting old really, really quickly at this point. As we said, this is year 16 of officiating lacrosse already at this point. I actually started out in Indiana and now have been back for about a dozen plus years in Connecticut. Coached the New Haven Club lacrosse team for 8 years. I did ice hockey for a year of reffing, and it was a miserable experience to say the least, with parents and everything else. But I've done, as Dick said, I've done shot clocks and game boards and penalty times and stuff for some of those, and do collegiate officiating. My pride fact before my kind of fun fact is always I'm still the youngest Connecticut or college official as well. I'm starting to get unproud of that fact because I'm not older at this point. But again, as you see, this call is amazing because we have a lot of younger guys and even older guys. Still chances to get out there and to go officiate and things like that. But on average, right, in both collegiate nationally and then here in Connecticut, our average age is 54 of officials. And as a lot of the older officials always say, the one thing that never changes about the game is that the players stay the same age. And we kept getting older every year. Is that, when we get to our 40s and our 50s and our 60s and we're doing high school, it's still 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year olds and having to be able to manage that and get up and down the field. And again, learning how to do that smartly and getting yourself in a correct position, being able to anticipate. So we're going to spend a ton of time on doing just that, is really going over mechanics and all those areas as we talked about, as I move to the next one. So where we then transition, kind of our big activity for tonight. And again, we're not going to get massively into rules or things like that. This is, again, try to be an introduction of how we do things and to kind of go through on what on earth is officiating, because a lot of you said no experience. Some of you said we have a ton of experience, but then it's also lacrosse is a different sport in that regard, right? We don't ref with the whistle in our mouths like basketball, and we don't have 7 other people and headsets like, field hockey or football. But it is super fast paced. And sometimes you are on an island, right? And understanding that we have grass fields and turf fields and you do more than one game. So all of those different things kind of come into that. So we kind of do our expectations. And then before I forget, I do want to, again, we try to be as transparent as possible here. And we also try to just tell you what you're going to experience. So that way, when you get into it, and we try to give you a lot of different chances to even get on the field before that first game. And we'll discuss it a bit. Again, just a reminder, I know there's kind of 3 of you in that area with their, as I'm just trying to read super quick, my Darien guy, which is Mike, and then the 2 Brookfield guys, which is Caparosa, and then Holden, who we talked about as well. Again, Connecticut's a little bit unique. We have 2 different officiating committees. And so we have Fairfield County, and then we essentially have the rest of the state, which goes all the way from Litchfield County all the way out to Windham County and New London County. But the mass bulk of all kind of our officiating is really in that New Haven, Hartford County areas for the most part. Again, that's where population high schools are. Some youth teams are in there as well. Again, Connie's a different beast. Connie kind of intersects all the way out to Madison, Connecticut, and kind of comes back a little bit. And we have some in there. So again, if you feel that you want to be able to travel a little bit more or do 2 boards, I'm on both boards as well, because again, I live in New Haven, so I'm in an area where I can easily get to Stratford or I can get to, Norwalk and things like that. And I want to do a Brunswick game once in a while, even down in Greenwich. So if that's kind of what you want to do, we can talk about that and offer that. We work very tightly with Lou and everybody else in the Western board. And then on the flip side, if you really want to stay within a very tight kind of perimeter of where you live, Western board might offer you more opportunities. So again, we'll figure that out as we go, but just want to again kind of get that out. What we'll do, since this group is already way more, Andrew, not to yell at you and your group last year, but everybody was a lot quieter already last year, even on introductions. We'll kind of forego, I think, breakout room is a little bit, and we can all just kind of talk about it and throw some ideas out there. What I like doing to kind of start and get our minds, even though we're a little ways away, 5, 6 weeks before the season kind of starts up and we start doing on-field stuff and our clinic and things of that nature. I always like kind of going through the expectation levels of, when we get to a game and putting ourselves in that shoe. And again, a lot of you are doing basketball or other sports. You might literally still be in that mode, which is great. I heard a great way of explaining it at the National Ref Convention this year of you're always in one of three phases of the cycle. And even in a day, you're in a cycle of you're preparing, you're executing, and you're evaluating. So to try to get back to that preparation side of the cycle of let's, for, 30, 40 seconds to ourselves, start thinking about expectations of when we show up to a game. And I'll probably lean a little bit more on the people who are playing or recently out of playing of what's your expectation when you get to the game as a player? What are you feeling? What do you want to happen? And then on top of that, what do you hope the officials also bring to that game? And again, put yourself in the player mindset. So it's always awkward when I say 30 seconds, so I'll purposely talk a little bit, right? And kind of allow you to think about it. But we'll open it up to the group here. What's kind of your expectation as a player, and then as a player thinking about the officials? Go ahead, whoever jumped in.
But I was gonna say just basic thing that everyone's ready and on time, prepared, so you don't see kind of somebody walking in last minute, or like last second before the game starts. Now I know it's different with AU and club sports and stuff like that, but in general sense that people are ready to go.
Yeah, I think super odd. Like usually we don't even start with that one, and I love that one, right? I'm always the same person. I'm not inherently an anxious person by any stretch of the imagination. I'm probably too cool, calm, collected, and never see it's to a fault, right? But I'm the person, even in my playing days, I check my bag 52 times, right? And we'd like pull the car over to make sure my helmet and my skates, even though I packed it 6 times, right? As a hockey player, oh my God, is my gear ready, right? And then if you get there, I get more nervous if I show up early and nobody's there. I'm like, oh my God, am I in the wrong location, right? Like, which is worse. So I think that's why I'm inherently also late to everything in life, right? It makes me feel more comfortable. But to your point of being on time, being professional, being ready to go. So I think it's an awesome one to start. What else do we have as players?
I think you're just wanting a fair game. You want the officials to kind of let you play, but to do it in a fair manner. Nothing too one sided or too over the top.
And I
Um,
always allow the counter of what does a player deem as fair?
uh, you know, if I was a player, I would want to make sure that the officials are obviously creating a safe environment along the field. And then fair, just, calling what they see, making sure that, everyone feels as though there's no favoritism out on the field and that calls are being made on both sides.
Yep, I always say safe. And who is, I'm just looking real quick. Who's it, Kevin? Right? You're my guy who played one of them. When I say fair, what do you actually mean by fair as a player? How do you actually want the game called? Or I could pick Tom, you've had a ton of experience, Gravelding.
Yeah, I can go in on that. I mean, obviously fair, it's always going to be a little biased as a player because you feel like a lot of times it goes towards the other team, but I think what you look for mostly is that it's consistent between both sides. If they're being really strict in one half or really strict towards one team and loose on the other side, that's where you can, at least for me, that's where I get upset with the officiating. So in terms of fair, I look for consistency.
Yeah, it's always pulling teeth to get that answer right. Like you never want it like 100% fair, right? You always want it fair that then you get the advantage, right? You know what I mean? Like if you get that extra flag where that was a 50-50 and you're like, well, you get an extra man up. That's kind of what you want, right? Deep inside, I always say, as a player, we're always kind of a little bit, I think that word is perfect, a little bit biased, right? We want it consistent, but if we happen to get a couple that go our way versus against us, we're not mad about it, right? It is, I always say in life of and regardless if it's professional to youth to anything, nobody's ever declined a penalty ever, right? I know in football we decline it for our advantage, right? But it's never like it's 2 minutes in the box or it's a minute for a trip, and you're like, you know what? It's like, sir, it was my guy tripped himself. Like it's fine. We'll just give him the ball. You're good. Right? We never kind of go into that area. So I think good on players. I'll kind of pick on some of us who have coached as coaches. What's our expectation, not only of the game but also of the officials?
Yeah, I'd say know the rules. Have a good feel for the game. As simple as that.
Do you, for our other officials, I'll totally pick on some of our basketball guys. Do we wish that coaches also knew the rules too sometimes as officials?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But
Yes.
most of them feel like they already
That was
know
like
it.
three people. That was great. That's so great. There's like three people just be like, oh yeah, yeah, right. Like, and so again, to that point, we all have that expectation, right? And then we kind of have to dial back that expectation a lot of the times, and not necessarily always in a bad way, right? But sometimes I always say, and it doesn't matter if it's a varsity game, a JV, or a youth, right? Is sometimes that point is if the other person dials back that expectation for us, it actually makes the whole conversation and makes the whole game a little bit easier, right? Is we've all been and we're all will be in the scenario of you're going to have a first time coach or a brand new coach, right? As I remember the first time I ever coached, and it was did a JV game, right? I got like bumped up as the freshman coach and like, hey, you're in charge of JV because all the JV coaches, like, I don't know, need to go to the after party or something different than being at this JV game, right? You're left all by yourself. And the officials asked the first thing to go, what's your in-home number? I'm like, my house number, right? Like my phone number, right? And it's essentially this player that we designate if we can't figure out a foul and not to get in the weeds, we designate a player who's going to serve penalties or if the coach gets in the sports line. And I had never heard that before, right? And I got my chest up. I'm going to do my first head coaching game ever. And they looked at me, both officials, they go, this is your first day, right? I go, how'd you know? Right. And so it allows that expectation to be dialed back, right? And be like, I'm just trying to survive here, man. Thank you so much for like appreciate, right? And so as versus, I think we all agree when that coach or that official is just as equally, wrong sometimes of having that ego of I'm in charge, I know everything. Right. And sometimes you need to have that bravado to get out of the situation, right? Where a coach is yelling, a player's hot, a parent's hot, be like, nope, I'm in charge, I'm right, we're going this way, right? And that little bit of ego helps us sell the call or get through it, right? But on the flip side, that ego can also be our downfall, right? Is that if we really don't know what we're talking about and we do have a super highly skilled, right? Or again, I'll pick on Mike, where the same thing where that parent, says something. Sometimes the parent is correct, right? Right. But we don't want to admit it. All right. Oh, you're totally right. I blew that call. But you kind of go, right. And you kind of look at him and go, like, he's up, buddy. Right. Like, you're right. We're good. And so it's kind of that double edge. But I think that same point of kind of that safety, knowing the rules and allowing that game to kind of go off correctly goes a long way. So good kind of transition, unless anybody else wants to add on the coach side. But parent side, what's our expectation, especially those of you who are parents? Go ahead and talk to me a little bit, please.
To be firm and fair.
And dig in a little bit. Do you want overly firm? Do you like when the officials have egos when you're watching it? And especially if you feel they're not hustling or doing a good job?
I think it looks when firm, I think look the part, show up, make sure you're not looking, I think people judge you by your appearance, so you have to look the part as well. I think that's just as important as, I think if you do that part, you do it well, that'll alleviate some of the other things. If you even hit the call may be wrong, but if you look the part, I think that'll help go a long way.
Right. And I think that one is fine. I learned it this year, a few years ago, obviously, but as simple as it sounds like, we had really great advice on the national account. They go, downsize your shirt by one if you can, especially your short sleeve. As simple as it sounds, like you know what I mean? And I watch myself, like on the long sleeves are fine, right? Because we have multiple layers on, things like that. But the short sleeve, it's kind of like baggy here, right? As silly as it sounds, and you're making calls, right? Like on a broadcast, and you're like, that doesn't look as good, right? And then you watch the NFL, as silly as it sounds, like I know it's Sean Hockley now, but all of us older remember Ed Hockley and his 90-inch biceps, right? Like the man just looked like he knew what he was doing, right? Because he looked like he just got out of like a Mr. Olympia competition. You're like, clearly this guy is in charge of everything, right now. And you see, right, a different game where you see a little bit more bag or shirt's untucked or the hat's a little bit sideways, and you see that the call's not as confident. You're like, that guy know what he's doing, right? And again, that could be your best rules official, that could be the most mechanically sound official, the best graded official of all time, but it just doesn't look right, right? And perception then becomes the reality, very simply of, is this guy sure? He couldn't press his shirt, right? He couldn't iron his shirt, right? Simple things like that then go a very long way, or the whistle doesn't sound good, or, the bigger gripe we have sometimes is, we wear an all black shoe, is that you got a huge white stripe or an Adidas mark on your pant or on your shirt, right? And it just all of a sudden looks a little bit different, like you weren't paying attention to the details to that same point. And again, we all make mistakes, and as players and coaches, we make a million errors in a game, right? Officials are magnified in that. You make one small mistake or they catch on something, and it can suddenly roll, and that perception again becomes that reality. So super good on that one. What is especially those who officiate others, and let's hear from some people who haven't talked yet, what is our expectation of our fellow officials, whether a brother or sister officials? But the same thing, before we get to a game, when we get to a game, when we actually do the game, and even after the game. Take me through all four phases. So before we even get to the game, what's our expectation of our fellow officials?
I'll say something for hockey. I know, like, when my partner gets there, I like to always talk to him and see like what games he's ref before and like what type of calls he makes. So I know if I make a certain call, he'll stand with me on that call. And then also just like standing with like your partner in general, that's pretty much who you're working with, and you need to like stand with their call.
Yeah, and it's tough sometimes, right? Like sometimes we all make bonehead calls, right? And sometimes, and again, you'll learn, I know it's travel and basketball or legal procedure, but we have this magical symbol. This is called the legal procedure in lacrosse, right? So sometimes you will see, not very often, but especially in your first time, right? I'll go tweet, 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 right? I got my whistle, tweet, 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 Naramore, do you also have? And he goes, yes, I have a hold. We're going that way, right? And I call the international signal of I'm in trouble, right? Somebody please bail me out. If I'm doing this for more than 3 travels, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm about to call. Somebody jump in and tell me. And you're like, oh no, the ball did deflect out of white. How did you know? How did you see that from 80 yards away? Because we're going that way, right? So to that point, it's okay to have some humbleness, right? And to that point, we want to be firm. I agree, it's that fine line, but we still want to give that room, especially to our partner, right? Where if we didn't get something, and I always say, our magic thing, and we see it in every sport, right? We huddle up real quick in lacrosse. We have the opportunity to do this sometimes, not always, but sometimes we'll come in and I'll just go, hey, Bernard, all I need you to do is nod your head 3 times right now. Nod your head, nod your head, nod your head. All right, great. Hey, we have a hold on white. It's going this way. That is the call, right? Super firm. And all I needed was just the perception that John is actually telling me what the call is, right? And now all of a sudden we're moving on and we get out of that scenario. So that point, having our partners back is massive. That kind of covered like a little bit of pregame. What's our expectation before we even get to the game as well? Go ahead.
I think like communication. I would say like being on the board this year, several games that I've done, whether I'm the R or the umpire or whatever, my partner or myself have reached out to each other. Hey, we're working together at whatever school, Loomis Chafee. I'll be there at 3:15. Looking forward to seeing you. We'll talk about the game when we get there face to face. So just that expectation, knowing that, okay, this is going to be my partner. We've already established a pre-relationship. We established a time where we're going to meet, and then we're going to pregame once we both are in the building. But just establishing that communication aspect is huge because you don't want to just go in and not know who you're looking for or any type of um, consistency on both your parts.
Yeah, I think that's super perfectly said. I am a little bit extra, to say the least, on the pregame, especially when we work three mans and we get to college and we do a lot of them. I'm like super extra of like I like Google Map a satellite picture of where we're gonna park and where we're gonna go in, right? Because think about a lot of times when you haven't been to high schools, and sometimes they're massive, right? And then the same thing, and again, in a perfect world, we're all there an hour early. We have nothing going on. Not a single thing went wrong in the day, right? Nothing, right? Not even our coffee was bitter or anything like that, right? And we get there and we're in a good headspace and we're not rushing and our bags packed and we can walk it, right? That has happened 0% of my career, right? Ever of, you're rushing in, you got 10 minutes, your partner, and then again, that worst case scenario that I always feel like of, again, we're going to get on the field late, we're going to give a bad presentation, but then it's, your partner doesn't like texting, which kind of understandable, but then doesn't communicate that they parked in a lot 50 yards away and you got to go pee real quick, right? And then you show up, they're wearing long sleeves and shorts somehow, and you have a jacket on and something else, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, we don't match, we're not ready, we're late, and we're sprinting. And then you're like, hey, can we jog over the field? And then your partner, I'll totally just pick on Vernon and just say, Vernon's like, I'm not running any extra if I don't have to, right? And then you get that. And you're just like, so you're in a bad headspace, right? So that whole point of if you can communicate, it doesn't need to be overkill back and forth. But I always like simple things of that of, if I've never been to a spot and simple things, as saving your partner's number in your phone so you don't have to fumble with Arbiter or something else where, if you don't have an internet connection based on your high school and stuff. And so little things like that. And I've even showed up to games and, there's three of us and I'm there with somebody else and, do you have so and so's number? Well, no, I don't know. I don't know who they are. And you're like, you're in charge of the crew. Like, are we going to get this third person here or not? Right. And so sometimes you have those bad experiences. So again, lean on your veterans, but again, you can do a lot of the legwork of reaching out and make sure you communicate things like that. So super well said. Our last one, and anybody who hasn't talked, jump in here of what's your expectations of yourself when you go to a game as an official?
Even though like I haven't even officiated any games, I like want to expect myself to like be prepared with like uniforms and all the equipment I need because I don't want to show up to something unprepared because that wouldn't be like a good look on me being a ref.
Yeah, I think like Tony said it in his goal, right? Which is for like just to be competent, right? I think is their actual goal every day, right? In just about everything, but especially officiating, right? Like we all want to have a perfect game, and I even find myself sometimes I'm like, man, like it's gonna be like fourth quarter, and there's gonna be that slash call, I'm gonna throw the best flag, and then you're like, I don't need to be part of this game. This game is great, right? I don't want to interject myself, right? And there's not a lot of opportunities for us to do that, nor should we, right? Be finding spots where it's about us. But at the same time, just to be competent, like the best, we always joke, and it's so serious, of the best compliment we can get is that we literally walk off the field. Nobody says a word to us. We get in our car and we go home and nobody says anything. That's literally one of the best compliments we can get, right? And as silly as it sounds, of nobody having anything to say to us means we did an amazing job, right? And a lot of the times, part of that compliment is us being invisible in a good way, is that we just came in and came out. We called our end lines, we called our goals, we did face-offs, we talked to the coaches, we talked to the players, we kept everything moving, and everybody got out of there safely. right? And I say at the end of the day, that is our largest goal, not expectation, is to simply go home. And I'm serious about that. Everyone to go home safely is the goal of all of these times that we go and officiate. And if we can do that and we can keep everybody as safe as we can, right? Obviously, we can't control stuff and dive in front of people or take that stick out of somebody's hands before they whack them across the head, right? But if we can do our best job and try to be a little bit invisible and get out of there and get that compliment of nobody saying a word other than your partner being like, you nailed it, right? Right? It is an awesome day. We get to make some money, we get to have fun, we get to do community service, and we're not sitting on the couch for the whole day. So we get a little bit of exercise, right? And all those things turn into a really, really good kind of, recipe, as we said, is not only the expectation side, but also that goal side. So kind of our quick transition, and then we'll get into the few housekeepings as we're kind of nearing past the halfway mark at this point. Again, what we say in lacrosse, right, is honor the game. And this comes from, you'll hear, Steve Hinchy has been our trainer for 20 plus years in Connecticut, and then I took over for him. But again, lacrosse is unique just in its origin and history, right? The first game, organized within North America, and the first game documented and still, a Native American game, and also called the Creators Game. So we like to impart that kind of super simple slogan in almost everything we do, is honor the game, right? So anybody jump in. I'm not going to explain for who, especially former players, what does it mean to honor the game?
I think as a player, to honor the game, being given the opportunity to play the creators game, we're kind of blessed with that opportunity to step on the field and play what I think is the greatest sport. And just having respect for the game, having respect for the guy next to you, your teammates, your opposition, just playing the game, to play the game, not to, not to hurt anybody or play maliciously. But that's what I would say in regards to honoring the game.
Yeah, I agree, right? It's one of the unique things that we kind of remind ourselves on a normal basis. And I say it in my pregame every time of, hey, let's honor the game here, right? And then we kind of go when we do our pregame ceremony of our lineup and things, of just a simple reminder of, hey, we get to have fun today, right? Right? Like, this is probably the best part of all of our days, regardless if you're doing a 7-year-old game all the way up to, a college national championship. Of it is by far going to be probably the best part of your day, right? And not saying that my family's in the other room and can't hear it right now, but not saying your family's not important, not saying that your job's not important or anything else fun you do, but again, gives you the chance where you just get to forget about anything, right? And again, it's this idea of what's also called the medicine game, and just simply of it, just again, and this is all sports, right? And I believe this to a fault of, simply that we get to shut our brains off for 2 hours and not worry about anything else that's happening on the planet outside of what's occurring on that field for that day, right? And if the game goes well, it's a great medicine. If it doesn't go well, that's another story. But you get my point of just having that chance to remind ourselves of, it's a game, it's a privilege to be here. We get it to be a part of something, and we get to have a little fun. We get to do it a lot, right? And so when that all kind of boils down, is that we got to remember in all of our training and all of our stuff as officials, it's about the player. So a lot of the times we're going to tell you things, and this is where Bern and I always start laughing, right? Is the rule is written one way. That is what is called the letter of the law, right? And then there's the intent of the rule. And sometimes we're not saying to make stuff up when you're officiating, right? But as you're beginning and as you get through your first games, and even your second and third and fifth and 16th season that I'm on, of sometimes things get really complicated, right? And I always use the best example of, again, look at the NFL and somebody explain to me what a catch is in less than 5 words, and I'll wait and hold my breath forever, right? It's impossible, right? Or what's a double dribble, or what on earth is a lacrosse move? Even in lacrosse, really difficult things. We also have a very dynamic game, which is different than some sports. Hockey's probably the closest, but if you think of football or if you think of volleyball, Basketball is a little bit more half court now these days. I know there's some full press, but there's a little bit of slowing. And, once a basket's made, everybody kind of retreats. And obviously the cross has that too. But it's very dynamic where you can go long stretches of time without a whistle and there's constantly things going on, right? If you could have 2 or 3 minutes, the ball goes back and forth, you have shots. And now when you start watching TV games and college games, we have shot clocks. So it actually accelerated the pace of the game that was already extremely fast, right? And so with that said, you have a ton of things. And then again, something happens in a split second, 30 yards away from you as you're running and probably out of breath if you're me or anybody else, right? And you're kind of looking to the side. And now you have 6 coaches, 15 parents, and 42 players screaming at you that you did or did not get the call right, right? And you need to remember exactly rule 7-3-4-A-B-B, italic 2, official ruling 43, right? Not going to happen, right? Ever. So you kind of need to remind yourself of advantage versus disadvantage. And we'll get into that whole concept. And those of you who have refed already understand that. But again, is one team disadvantaged? Was one player disadvantaged? Do we need to kind of move the ball to somebody else? Or was there no disadvantage? So again, remembering, we need to remember the players. And again, that idea of it's about them as versus completely remembering every letter of the law in a lot of situations. And the last part of all that, and this is the briefest one, of again, having that levity and having that understanding. At the end of the day, it's a game. We all get turned up and we all get super mad and we get everything flowing and our emotions going and stuff like that. But we have to remember as officials at the end of the day, it's just a game, right? And we laugh about this all the time, especially when, we go for a pint or we hang out, we have pizza and all that other stuff at the end of the day. And we always get, coaches and players and parents at the end of some games and go, man, I don't know how you could want that team to win the game or to score. And at the end of the go, we don't even remember who won the game, right? We don't remember who scored all the goals. We know usually the better players, right? But we don't remember 13 had 3 assists or 2 goals or anything like that, or we don't remember the exact score. I laugh too. I do so many games. If sometimes we show up, we know where we're going, but we don't even remember what teams are playing, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just about getting there, and it's about making sure that we do a good job for the game we're at. To kind of transition over, now we're going to get into housekeeping. I always try to do a quick pause. Anybody got any questions, comments on anything, expectation, goals, anything so far? Cool. So on the uniform side, we're going to send you out a whole bunch of stuff. This is kind of begins the next step where if you feel this is for you, and if you're registered and you paid, we're kind of on the next steps. But if you're still kind of on the fence about things, is the uniform is by far the biggest investment that we ask you to make outside of your time, right? Uniforms are pricey. We'll go through them. Bernard, did you want to jump in a little bit about the websites now and stuff like that, and I'll show them if you talk and I'll pull them up?
Sure, that's fine. So there are a couple of websites that we're going to show you here. This first one is Rainbow Graphics. They have a bunch of sort of casual wear if you like to have something like that, not specifically to be wearing at the game. The biggest thing on this page, there are a couple of things. If you'll look on the left, you'll see the Torrent waterproof jacket. That's an unlined jacket that's good in the spring if it's raining. This was offered a couple of years ago. I got one and I found, wow, this is great. It actually keeps me dry even when it's pouring out. So that's one possibility. New this year, and this is pricey, but if you're in for a while, it's a good investment, I think. This is the same jacket, the Vortex waterproof 3-in-1 that you see there for $120. This is actually multiple jackets. It has an inner lining that you can wear with the outer shell, or you can take that out and just wear the outer shell piece. This is the same jacket that the college officials have for the really cold, wet days. So that's an option as well. If you get that jacket, the 3-in-1, you don't need to get the Torrent waterproof jacket because you basically have that already built into that 3-in-1. The pullovers, some people like to wear pullovers when it's wet. It only zips down a little bit. So if you have something in your pocket in your shirt underneath, it's hard to get at it. So I'm not a big fan of that, but some people like it. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see there's a white hat there. CLOA, that's a hat that we wear starting in May. Instead of wearing the black hat with the white piping, there's an option if your crew, when it's really warm out, to wear a white hat that keeps you a little bit cooler when it gets 90 degrees in May. There's waterproof pants there. Some people like it, some people don't. If you can find pants that actually have loops on them that you can put your belt through, that's a good thing. But this is those do not have those. So, but I would say on this page, and Dick, if you want to jump in with a comment, I think the biggest thing would be the white hat and the one of the jackets.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the jackets are great.
Any questions on that? Okay, so in terms of the actual shirts that you're going to wear, so if you got a pencil or something, write this down. Do not buy 2¼ inch striped shirts. We wear 2-inch stripes. So that one all the way on the right, they're supposed to take that off the website. So what you're seeing, the first three, you've got a short sleeve, 2-inch. You'll see the flag above the pocket and the CLOA patch on the left arm. Comes with it. And then you have two long sleeve shirts, one of which you can't really see it. Can you adjust it, Rob, a little bit? One of them's for rainy weather. It's hard to see on the description. The $79.99 one, if you go on that one. Rainy weather. That's a thicker one. Do you need that one? Probably not if you have the regular long sleeve and you're wearing a jacket. But if you want something that's a little bit thicker, this is the first time that these were offered. These are Smitty brand, which is, you see the college officials wearing these. These are high quality shirts, so they're expensive. But I would say the biggest ones that you would want to get is a short sleeve and at least the regular long sleeve. And you probably want a jacket for those rainy, cooler days. You can dress in layers. If you're wearing something under the shirt, you want it to be all black, so that if any, like on the short sleeve, if anything's visible around the collar, you want an all black undershirt. Dick, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I'd go with a black turtleneck usually, and April when it's cool, black turtleneck with a long sleeve shirt.
Yep. Under the stripes, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
And we're going to send out, just so everybody knows too, I'm going to kind of go a little bit out of order here, but we essentially send out every single Tuesday. I send out an email to the whole chain, and it's got what we're going to do for the following meeting, or excuse me, the next meeting. So it's everything we need to know. And then we also do a recap, including the video also gets in. So all of this goes up on YouTube for you to see. So we're going to talk Arbiter in a second. But again, for those of you who are in and for sure is start looking at, parts of the uniform. Again, I also really like getting to this earlier because I do a ton of just putting different things, and we put a couple examples up here actually. These are 2 Amazon links, and John likes the Blue Generation pants. I'm kind of an Under Armour snob at this point, but again, the prices fluctuate a ton on Amazon. As I actually put the shoes as an example for all, I left them in my save it for later for the entire year. Is they literally went from $25 to $130. Is where we actually saw the price range under 60 right now. So it gives you a chance where you aren't going to need this until early March. If you're doing a couple extra games, is obviously we can figure out what you can wear into some of those scrimmages or indoor opportunities. But again, gives you a chance to kind of price check on stuff because the accumulation of all this gear is a lot. So we want you to start small. There's also a great video that we see down here. Bruce Backus, who's going to be on as part of our training cadre too, is we finally got Bruce on film, which has been amazing. And it's him explaining his entire uniform uniform bag for 30 plus years, right? He's got everything and he's got backups. Remember, at the end of the day, you're going to look the same as your partner, and your partner, if they're not a giant jerk, is going to make sure that they have extras for you or is going to compromise to what you need to wear. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, Rob, just the only thing you want to stress here is you're really not shopping anywhere else for the striped jerseys. You have, I say you have to. You really have to get them from Blow Your Whistle. Blow Your Whistle. And the reason for that is the sublimated patch. That's the only store that has our patch sublimated on the shoulder. So everything else you can shop, shorts.
Yeah, if I can just add something on
Yeah.
that with the shorts, for example, or the shoes, look around at different places. There's a variety of prices for the exact same pair of shorts, the exact same shoes, and check on the shipping and stuff like that. It can make a really big difference. So if you like what you see, and also look at the material, the shorts that I like are 60 cotton, 40 poly, and they have a little stretch in them, and they have buttons on the back pockets, which I think is great. If you put something in the back pockets, you can button it so they're not falling out. So look over the stuff carefully and decide what works best for you for shoes and for shorts.
Excellent. So then uniform wise, again, just making sure if you are, we don't put an exact age on it, but if you are a younger guy who's starting out career wise or still in college, we've had different opportunities and grants available. Generally speaking, sometimes other members will help purchase some things, right? And simple things of that. And the board has had a small amount of funding. So if you are struggling on stuff, or if that is one of the real cruxes of you not joining, just talk to us. We'll have a conversation. We'll see if we can figure anything out. Or mentors and stuff like that who help buy stuff. I bought like whistles for my mentees as a fun gift and things like that, where again, it saves $10 when you're starting out, and that becomes really helpful because we were all at a high school first career people, and again, eating like ramen noodle every single night for dinner. So we're all at that point. Again, on that professionalism, and not to overly talk since we just got a few slides and a little time here left. But again, that idea that what we are doing, and as this comes through within the training of, and all of you have been really good. I am so impressed, and I'm not just blowing smoke, I promise. Again, this isn't shade, Andrew, on your group of people, but in doing this for a number of years I texted everybody and got a response within an hour. Thank you for that. You are a massive group right now, the 20 plus of you. The fact that I texted and got responses from you, and all of you signed up and registered, it was fantastic. If you're still not registered or anything else, just stay on after. We'll try to square you away at this point. But again, simple things like that of communicating. If there's something going on in your training or anything else, just talk to us. You're not in trouble. You're not kicked out of training. I always have to say it like that because I got like 4 messages already today, and they said, what happens if I don't make the first one? I said, you're going to watch a YouTube video and life is going to go on. I promise you, right? We're super realistic about this. We are meeting you where you are, and we ask you to meet us at that same halfway point.
When we get to the rules stuff, we love questions for 2 reasons. One, it shows you're thinking about stuff, but it gives us a chance also to see what maybe we need to communicate better to you, or what might be, a little more complicated for somebody who's doing this for the first time. So the more questions you ask, we love that. We don't look at it as, oh, they don't know what they're doing. We look at it as, oh, they really want to do well, and they're really thinking the stuff through. So
yeah, and a perfect segue that I am massive on feedback. I've taught for, this is year 11 now at this point that I've been teaching. I ask feedback and of course do it during the course as well. We're going to also Dan is going to be a guest speaker. He's one of the graduates of last year's class who does all the football officiating at Hartford, and wanted to just come back and talk about that feedback loop and the expectation stuff. So he's going to do that hopefully next week. But same idea. He would call me every week and say, here are all the things you did awful, and here are all the things you did great. And I said, man, you don't have enough that are like, you keep saying there's not enough bad stuff. Like, there's got to be something, right? So again, tell us. We're super happy to change how we teach you. This is by far going to be the most boring. We're going to get into some rule stuff, and Burns going to be really happy. That's really boring. And Dan, I'm kidding. But we're going to try to make it fun and do breakouts and videos and stuff like that, where this is really the only slideshow that has got a whole bunch of nothing in it. And so just the housekeeping stuff, again, if you're an arbiter veteran at this point, I'm sorry, I'm going to bore you a little bit, but I'm going to just bring you through it. Again, everything is going to be in this PDF that we send. The two biggest things are going to be availability and your profile stuff. So I'm just going to go through that quickly. There's an entire YouTube video that somebody made that's got like 100,000 views, I forget, or something ridiculous about setting your blocks, but I'll go through it quickly. A lot of you might look like mine, and that's okay. You have a ton of different organizations that over the years they get added on and they never go away. Some are assigned to you, some are not. Again, we're going to have CLOA. If again you're doing Western Board 2, you'll have two of those. But essentially, the first thing you kind of want to go in is make sure you go to kind of your account, and you're going into your settings and I think we can just click. Yeah. You're going to click your actual picture. Please, please, please. The biggest thing, make sure you have a headshot. It drives me up a wall. It drives a lot of us up a wall as well of if I've never met you before. And again, it's not about us being comfortable when we're on the field, but again, it's that fact because it always happens to the person who doesn't put a picture. You are running 5 minutes before the game. You are running late. You don't know where to park. You haven't called me. And I say this in the most loving fashion. I had an amazing brand new official that we ended up doing a JV varsity. So he was massively nervous because it was his first varsity game ever. Didn't have a picture in it. He forgot his shoes on the top of his truck driving to the JV game. It happens. Where did those shoes end up? Your guess is as good as mine. Right. And he said, hey, I need to go find them. And I said, just make a U-turn, drive slowly and see if you could find them, right? Sure enough, they were right in his driveway, fortunately, but he was running really late. The best part, he didn't have a picture and I had no idea what he looked like. And we were in a parking lot that was absolutely jam-packed because there was a softball, baseball, lacrosse games going on and everything else. And he's calling me saying, do you see my silver Civic? No, man, everybody's got that car, or like now or whatever, like, hatchback at this point, right? Now, man, you look like everybody, like your guess is as good as mine. So he gets out, he goes, I'm walking. Can you see me? No, until I see the stripes, I can't see him. So just that simple thing of being able to see people and see who they are allows you that when you first see them, or the other side, and not to overkill this, of you get an assignment, you don't know who they are. And sometimes you've seen them at meetings or you've seen them before. If you work basketball games together and you just can't remember their name, but you remember their face. And it gives that little bit of, oh, that's that guy. Right. So please put it in. Again, whatever you have, the best thing, it doesn't need to be super professional. We get yelled at for college where it's got to be literally a button down, not on a field and no stripes. And God, like we all are using ridiculous pictures. Put your picture in. That's number one. Your second thing is your blocks, is your availability. So there's twofold to this. So on your, I think it's here, right? You're ready to assign someplace.
It's in the
I'll find the
profile, I
ready.
think, Rob. I think it's in the
Is it,
profile, Rob.
is it in the profile? Thank you.
It used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
We'll find. There's a ready to assign button that you need to click on those as well. There's a little check mark. We'll make sure you get there. We can even do it on the back side if you need to, but there's a ready to assign side. But then the key is to go in and do your blocks. I'll let the YouTube video do most of the explaining, but essentially you can do all of your groups. You can also, there's a setting that you can go in and also have your groups share so they can see the calendar. Again, if you're doing two organizations or sports at the same times, might be beneficial just so they can see so they don't double assign you. But essentially, you want to just go in and essentially you can click one on the left. It's, in my opinion, a lot easier on a desktop if possible. But you want to pick a date, you can see what it says. I'll show you one of the blocks that I have. There's a ton of them because I have all the organizations. But again, I can only get out at 6, but I know there's some club lacrosse games that are scheduled at 5, so I want to be able to get to those. So I might change my assignments, but essentially you can go in and you can just pick block all day. And if I click the 8th, it'll literally drop a block in for every single one. And then if I made an issue, I can also go in and clear it. The nice part about all that too is you can actually write notes. So if you wanted to write, hey, leaving from this location, stuff like that, our assigner Dave, and if you are in Western Board Lou, they actually read them. And sometimes it'll be the same thing of, hey, I'm from Hebron, I'm currently working in New Haven, but I got a game out in New London, right? put it in that you're in New London, and Dave might see that and give you a game because now all of a sudden you're magically closer than what the arbiter tells you are mileage wise. So simple things like that. So not to overly go through this, but your blocks will be important. You can start doing them now once you're in. If you've registered, and again, you can do from, we have this in the to-do list, but March 10th, generally speaking, even March 1st, all the way until June 10th. Those are the best days. I always like to keep it consistent. But again, March 1st to the end of June, put in all your dates, right? If you have a job that does not let you leave early, you need to put in blocks for your weekdays. You can also go in and set your codes and your travel limits and actually change where you're leaving from on different days. I think if we do postal codes, it'll show what days you're leaving to. I'm totally lying on that. You have travel limits. Here you go. Your travel limits and your postcode. My zip code is technically East Haven, but I work from home still, so I can leave at any point, right? And I work, fortunately, 5 minutes from my house. So for me, it doesn't matter which one he assigns, but if they're 20, 30 minutes away, those are important things he wants you to do, where if he needs you to get to a game in 30 minutes, but you need to drive 60 miles, because the blocks aren't correct. Those are things you just want to go in and edit, like we said. If you have dance recitals, kids stuff, other basketball games, we get it. We get all of it. Again, we're now in a phase. This is kind of the last really important part too, is the next question is, when are the games even done? Again, I gave that list on the very first email. So if you scroll down to the chain that I sent you today about the reminder, games are now 6 days a week when they are high school. They are now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and youth is on almost all of those days plus Sunday at this point. It is really 7 days. It doesn't mean you need to work 7, but it also gives you the capability, if you do want to work 7, you can, which is nice. Most games start after 3:30. A lot start like 4, 5:30 for JV games, things like that. But then we get into the prep schools, which are everything from Choate to Loomis Chaffee to South Kent to Salisbury to everything in between. Some of those games are a little different. So if you do have a flexible schedule, sometimes they do JV games at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays or 3 o'clock. And even as a new official, if you've done other sports and things and you have availability, we might send you those games, and those games pay a little bit more. They're a little upper level. So those are all things you can kind of think about.
One thing, just
Go
one
ahead.
thing
Go ahead.
just to remember is if you leave a day without any block on it at all, what you're telling the assigner is you can work at any time all day. So if you're not sure about being able to work on a particular day, you're better off putting in a partial block or a full block, and then later on you can unblock it and say, oh yeah, now I'm available. But what Dave doesn't like is when you tell him you are available, he assigns you a game, and then for something you really already knew about, you say, well, I can't take it now. So if you don't think, if there's a possibility you're not going to be able to work that day, you're better off blocking it and then later unblocking it. That makes sense.
Agree. Super good point on that. Yes, is make sure, again, you're being honest with your blocks. Is yes, things come up. You might have to call Dave, change things around. Also, if you get different assignments, right? Especially if, college basketball season is still ongoing or things like that. For some of you, it happens, right? Dave is very, very, very understanding of that because, again, there's a hierarchy even within lacrosse where you have Division One, then you have 2 and 3, and then you have club, and then you have kind of NCLL, which is below MCLA, and then you get to all of your prep schools and your varsity, then your JV, your thirds, your youth games, and then you go from there, right? And so sometimes one person moving makes a trickle effect where somebody gets pulled to a different level because something happens, and now all of a sudden you have 20, 30 different people moving. So all of those things are important to kind of keep up, as we said. And again, this is mine. Again, I'm more unique out of most people of I have the ability that I get to make my own schedule. Don't tell the boss that, but I get to make my own schedule so I can get out and move things around. And there are some games, not a lot, but I always think of Cromwell always loves doing a noon game during spring break. So Dave needs 3, 4 officials at noon because they play varsity and JV at the same time. So things like that happen. So don't leave it blank if you definitely can't work it. Appreciate that point. If any of you have had a different former last name, or if you change your name, you just need to let me know. Again, part of that registration, you're agreeing to a background check. The only question we didn't ask is if you had a former last name or you legally changed your name at all. Just let us know. Most of you will not have that scenario, but if you did, just make sure you tell me by the end of this. Again, stick around if your payment hasn't gone through or you haven't registered. We put everything on YouTube. Everything is on there. You can look at all the old videos. We have them there. We'll send links out to everything as well in the PDF. We also, again, put everything in a Google Drive. We're going to continue that for training. We will eventually move things to in the Arbiter. There's a place called the Central Hub. We'll have all training materials, but we will have everything in here and it will be link access so you can see it. And again, you're going to have the new officials folder. We're going to have every class slide. All the PDFs are going to go in one spot, and then US Across also, we alter them because we don't like the order or the how much content's in them. So all of that will be in all of those locations, so you have it. I always put the Google Drive link and the YouTube link in every email that we send. It's in every single one of them, along with the Zoom link, so you'll have that. Our last couple items is the next question I always get is, what do I do next, Rob? Great. You just talked to me for 90 minutes. You didn't let me talk except for my fun facts, right? At this point, all your jokes were terrible, but what do I do next if I want to continue here? The first thing is you can start looking at the rule book. We attached that. Well, I'll reattach it in the next email, but we attached a copy of the high school rules. You'll be getting a paper copy once we're in person, but that's not until March. We'll try, if we can get them earlier, we'll try to get them to you if we can, but you kind of have a scanned version right now. You're also going to get an app version. Also, you do not need to concentrate on NCAA or college rules. They are different rule books. There's 100 some odd differences. Vernon knows every single one by heart. Please don't ask him. It is the bane of his existence at this point, going through them all. And he literally does. But again, the NCAA rule book is online PDF for free. So even if you start with that because you want a nice clean PDF, that's fine. The major differences aren't going to really, really trip you up outside of the shot clock. But we're going to concentrate on what's called the NFHS, National Federation of High Schools rule book, which governs the state of Connecticut. And we play by all of those rules that are contained in that. There is a lot of them. It takes a while. So if you want to start out slow, great. If like half of you, and I wrote it down, half of you said you have no idea what the game of lacrosse is, and Austin signed you up, or Paul. I feel like Paul got mentioned a whole bunch of times too. That is totally fine. We will get you there. You can start watching lacrosse. There is a ton and ton of lacrosse out there. If you have ESPN Plus, it is your best friend. Just start watching the college game. Again, the biggest difference is there is no shot clock, but everything else essentially functions the same way for what you need to know. YouTube has tremendous amounts of clips and videos and full games and everything else. There is also the NFHS network. There are some that is on demand, some is hidden behind a paywall. There are some games that are out there that are available. You just need to search for it. Start just watching games. Try to do a half a game or a game a day if you can. Even have it on in the background if you can at work or anything else, and watch a little bit, even small things. Once you get past seeing what the players does and the ball does, and again, we'll go over this, start kind of watching the officials a little bit, right? And start seeing what it is. For almost all of you on this call, you all have some kind of sports background. It is a basic sport. The goal is two teams to score a ball into a net on your opponent. That is it. That is the entire objective of the game. There is nothing else more complex than that actually goes on. There's really not. The big difference, they carry 6-foot sticks and 4-foot sticks, and the 6-foot sticks try to beat up on the 4-foot sticks. And that's essentially what goes on. And then you have goalies who wear no padding and somehow get in front of the ball, right? And so essentially, once you wrap your head around that and you understand it's a lot like half-court basketball, it's a ton of transition and build up like soccer and hockey, and you start mixing all these sports together, it starts making a lot of sense. Especially basketball is probably the easiest one to do because it is half-court basketball. There are picks, there's passing plays to open people up. You try to overload, you shift, you try to take a shot, all this good stuff that basketball does that goes in. Look into that equipment and to the gear. Again, that PDF is going to have the whole laundry list of what you need to need to know. We'll go through that in depth as well in the next one. If you're really anxious, you can start looking at any of the previous YouTube videos. All the past classes are up and start going ahead, but we'll go through that next week. And then the other one, if you're not an active official right now, is the same thing. We don't say anything crazy, is just start stretching, walking, and running. We have one guy on our board who literally trains Spartan racers for a living. Like that's that level. And then he laughs at me because I go on 3 mile walks with my daughter. I still push her in the stroller, right? Like it all works for us. As I can't outrun him, but I still think I look better. Right? But the idea is you just get active, get out, stretch a little bit, walk a little bit. If you can run a little bit, great. Start doing it now. Or again, if you're currently officiating, just take care of your body. And we're serious about this. I know it's the NFL saying, but your greatest asset is your availability. It really is. So if you can start taking care and start mending up a little bit on things, take care because you don't want them to linger. And then again, kind of it affects the availability and income and things like that.
Ross, can I just jump in
Yeah,
for
yeah,
one
go ahead.
sec?
Yep.
Just one thing on the rules as you start reading them. Just do small chunks at a time. You're not going to be able to absorb it by trying to read like half the rule book and then what's sitting. Just do small chunks. And at the end of each of the rules, you'll see there are approved rulings. If you want to see how you do, as you go to each one, just cover up the answer to each one and see if you have an idea as to what the ruling might be, and then kind of read it over and see if you were sort of on track. But just do it in small bits.
And so we'll quit sharing. So we are, again, we shall always, John and I will always stay to the very end. I'm just going to stop